This is a funny science fiction podcast spotlight.
Hello and welcome to the Funny Science Fiction Podcast, the podcast where you begin to understand why Yoda would never say, "We are the last hope."
Our special guest today is Lisa Hale. Lisa is an up-and-coming author who just released her first book called Aqua Mattis. Did I pronounce that one right?
That's perfect. Absolutely perfect. Yes.
And she is going to tell us about that in just a few moments. So welcome to the show, Lisa.
Yeah, welcome. Glad to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's jump right in and talk about the book writing process. For some, this is difficult, more of a difficult journey, and in the ends to justify the trouble of the journey. Do you enjoy the writing process?
Oh, absolutely. And last year, to be honest, I kind of needed it due to lockdown. There was not really much to do. I couldn't go traveling. So I thought, may as well travel, through the pen, I guess.
Right. So what parts of the book writing process did you enjoy?
I guess just kind of weaving together the story, developing the characters, fleshing out the true meaning of what I was trying to say with my book. That's probably the best thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So for some people, there's parts of that writing process that they enjoy more than others. Now, you mentioned, you liked, the character development and things, but what's the one part of this writing process that you struggled with?
To be honest, not necessarily the writing process. That sort of came naturally. The main thing I really struggled with was actually getting a good front cover. that was the hardest part. So I did a kind of a DIY artistry cover, which wasn't amazingly popular. So I sought out some help from a friend of mine. He's an excellent graphic designer. Her name's Jacqueline Lau, and she actually designed this front cover with her sister Jane Lau, and they did a fantastic job with that.
Yeah, it looks really good. So one of the things that we like to talk about with people who come on the show, especially when they're a creative type of person who's written a book, or we'll just say a writer in general. We won't get real specific about what they've written, but so let's say one of the things we like to talk about with creative people, writers and things, are their inspirations, the guides that have got them to where they're at. What helped them, in their journey to becoming the creative person that we see before us today? So my question is, what is your writing influence, and what inspired Lisa Hale to become an author short of a pandemic?
So it's a bit of a personal story, really. A couple of years back, I was hospitalized for psychosis and delusional thoughts triggered by a bipolar manic episode. And during my recovery, I felt very alone with my experience. And I also understood that even though loads of people do go through similar ordeals, it's not something that is spoken about often due to stigma. So I guess the inspiration and motivation for writing Aqua Mattis it's my way of owning my experiences of hospitalization and going public about my psychotic episode and all the delusional thoughts that I had. As I said, writing it, took my mind off the pandemic. And I guess what I really wanted to achieve was that my book could reach others who have had similar experiences and could help, feel maybe less alone and isolated. And also, for those people who love the ocean, since it's a very ocean-themed fantasy book, those people who can't get to the ocean, can't travel at the moment, it can provide a decent, refreshing escape from being stuck indoors. And also, I hope that my novel might inspire in others the confidence to share their mental health stories and contribute to breaking the stigma around things like bipolar, mania, and psychosis.
Excellent. Okay, that's a great backstory, and I'm glad that you were able to share that and be so open with it. So, but growing up, were there authors that you leaned on when you started writing the story, that where you said, "Man, I really like the way person ABC does this, and I'd like to kind of emulate that"?
So Joseph Haller wrote Catch-22, and it's not a science fiction novel, but it's a fantastic, incredibly humorous novel, but it has a really poignant message at the end, very moving kind of message at the end. I really was very inspired by that kind of writing style. Also, of course, classics, Hitchhiker's Guide from Douglas Adams, the surrealism, the humor. Terry Pratchett, I love his way of creating, magical, mystical worlds, and disc worlds. But his humor is very sort of practical and grounding. So it's that kind of style of, writing some very serious, stuff, some really fantastic world building, but not really taking the narrative too seriously and just injecting that little bit of imagination and magic, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. And honestly, and with the group that follows us, you're going to win a lot of points just being a Douglas Adams and Terry Pratchett fan. So, because I think every poll just about that we've done inside of the Funny Science Fiction Facebook group, and we mentioned, who's your favorite author? I'm pretty sure that those two almost battle it out neck and neck. So, and they've inspired so many people, and rightfully so. But okay, so apart from inspiration, there are authors or filmmakers, TV show designers that we just enjoy. Maybe it's you mentioned the reasons why you liked Pratchett and the reasons why you liked Douglas Adams, the way that they built things and did things. So maybe it's for their world building, or their story creation, character development, or maybe it's just how they blow stuff up on the TV screen. Now, so for others, many tend to stay away from media of all types during non-creative sessions, cleansing the palate, so to speak. So in your spare time, in Lisa's spare time, what do you like to do to recharge your batteries to get you ready for your next creative session?
I love, watching sci-fi movies and series. I rewarded myself after some creative sessions last year by watching Mandalorian second season. Absolutely, I'm such a big fan of the Mandalorian.
Same.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. sassy droids, for all. And I also, when I can, I enjoy swimming and free diving. I'm a big fan of the ocean. Big fan of reading about space and space travel as well. So the sequel to Achilles is going to involve, a bit more sort of space exploration, maybe a bit of time travel, maybe a bit more sort of, futuristic world building. So it's going to be a bit more kind of traditional science fiction to give myself, extra challenge.
Interesting.
Nice. Yeah, nice.
So we have a large sci-fi group, as you know, as a member of the group, and everyone in the group has their own fandom that they tend to lean towards. So what sci-fi universe does Lisa Hale like to partake of when she is not writing? And you did mention The Mandalorian, so you're probably more Star Wars.
Yeah.
Anything deeper or?
Oh, definitely Star Wars. I would just love to go explore Tatooine, one day.
Right.
Something like that, that would be fantastic. I guess, it's very silly science fiction, but it's absolute classic. And it's it's a movie that I definitely binge on, when, I've got like a rainy day. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Right.
That's sci-fi. That's absolutely sci-fi. There's time travel involved.
I was very surprised on how well they did with the third movie. I was like, all right, I can see this. Like,
it's absolutely fantastic. I just in my book, for example, the protagonist goes and visits different events in history, meets different characters, meets different creatures, that kind of thing. And because maybe I have been quite inspired by Bill and Ted's kind of historical adventures, collecting all historical figures, and as well visiting the future, with a fantastic soundtrack.
Nice.
So what alien species would you like to be in the Star Wars universe?
Ooh. Yeah, that's interesting. Do you know what? I know it's controversial, but Sith Lord, why not, right?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Or, walk the way of the Grey Jedi or something like that,
All right, so let's take a couple minutes and let's talk about your book. So we've set the premise here about, who Lisa Hale is as a sci-fi fan, what your inspirations were, how you got your book together, and all these things. But tell us about your book. What's, we've kind of mentioned the general premise, but tell us where you feel it fits into the sci-fi fantasy world. And although you've already compared it to, a little bit of Bill and Ted, what are some other comparisons that you could make that would interest our listeners?
Yeah. So in terms of the sort of sci-fi, science fiction aspect, the book features a genderless sea creature. So if you're if you're interested in sort of marine biology, but with like a science fiction twist, this particular protagonist can kind of change how they look.
Cool.
Change their abilities, evolve their abilities. They kind of respond to in their environment around them. So it's got kind of a psychological sort of twist to it. So the sea creature is trapped in a mental health ward, and they talk about their stories, their adventures at sea, journey through human history, fascinating characters that they meet. And leading up to their imprisonment in the ward. The story explores, the ocean, lets you meet sea creatures, as well as educating about, the ocean and, psychosis recovery. And by experiencing this aquatic humanoid called Acomatus, the book kind of welcomes you into this imagination-stretching delusion where you become briefly detached from your own reality. So if you want to escape from the stress of the pandemic, my book can certainly provide that. I'm not even going to compare myself to legends such as Douglas Adams or Terry Pratchett, but if you like the kind of surrealist fantasy these kind of things, then this book might be for you.
All right. Well, that's good. I think it's always good to when we talk about things that provide escape, because that's what sci-fi is. Let's be honest. I mean, sci-fi is a way for us to kind of escape from the things that we have going on in the world around us today, the way we view things, the way we interact with things. It gives us a chance to kind of have, a fantastical approach to problematic or troubling things. And so now I'm taking what you said earlier about your own issues with mental health and mental health awareness and things, and so kind of, I see the attachment of how you made that work. So that's kind of a cool tie-in and how you did that. So kudos to you for being forward thinking and making that jump there.
Thank you. That's very kind. I mean, what I've tried to do is try to sort of make something that is very unique. It has elements of sci-fi, elements psychology, and elements of mental health. And for people who have read it, they take different things they love about it. Whether it's my character kind of emerging from the Thames to scare people in London, or help certain people in history, meet certain people in history, that kind of stuff. And there's also a little bit of Madness goes to the future, and they predict potential creatures that may emerge or may evolve in the future, that sort of thing. It's all very tongue-in-cheek, it's
No, we like tongue-in-cheek. That's good. So so I can see also where you can have it set up for a sequel, since you're talking about with the the ability to move forward through time and backwards through time. So that does give you that opportunity to kind of jump around with these characters and do different things. So so that's interesting. So we'll be sure to look forward to a sequel. I think that's what they call them these days, a sequel. So
I just wonder where Nessie comes into play.
Yes.
Or did I just spoil something?
No, but it's definitely something that I'm thinking about, for the sequel. So in one of the chapters, Acomatus does swim around with some prehistoric oceanic beasts in the sea. I mean, the book is very much, it's very ocean based. I mean, Maddas does visit a few cities, but it's always kind of drawn back, to the ocean. But definitely in the sequel, I think having them explore some rivers and maybe meet the Loch Ness monster. Who knows? If that's something that readers would want to see, want to read, then
there's so many ways you could take that with so many different sea creatures and things to explore, and so much that's especially, and I think that's one of the neat things about the ocean life, is that there is so much in ocean life that's undiscovered by humankind. It's truly the last frontier,
Absolutely.
outside of outer space, and
Mhm.
Star Trek fans will argue that with me. What's the last frontier? But as far as our home world of Earth and what's going on, it's the last frontier that has yet to be explored, that has yet to be, because of the depths and the soul crushing and can crushing depths and power of the water. So there's a lot of stuff that's down there that can't be explored by humankind, and it allows our imaginations to kind of run with it. So yeah, I'm curious to see where you take this and where you go for book 2. So
Yes, you're absolutely right about the ocean being the final frontier, really, of exploration. The ocean's weird, beautiful. We depend on it so much. And
yeah,
when you're diving in it, you do feel like you're in an alien world.
yeah, I can see that. I can believe that. All right, very good.
All right, Lisa, thank you so much for being on the show today. Where can people find out more about your work?
Yeah, so I actually run a blog. It is aquamadas.com. I also have a Facebook page dedicated to my book, and also just random postings about the ocean and ocean creatures and ocean exploration, that sort of thing. I also have a Twitter account. Just search Aquamadas, and you'll find me.
And from the words of Bill and Ted, excellent.
Italians.
Well, we will be sure to place those in our description so that people can find you and all your other works.
All right, so we want to make sure, guys, that you understand that subscribing is the single most important thing you can do to ensure that we continue to get more great guests like Lisa here and funny moments for you to listen to. So please subscribe not only to our channel, but make sure that you check out Lisa's work as well. Go to aquamadas.com, check her out there. Go to Amazon, go buy her a book. You can go to goodreads.com as well and find it there. There's a lot of places where you can get this book, and it looks like it's a lot of fun. Looks like it's a great sci-fi fantasy sea adventure. So we want to make sure that we check that out.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thanks again, Lisa.
All right. Thank you so much. Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Our show is brought to you by our charity sponsor, the Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund, which supports the Wish Upon a Teen Foundation that helps out sick kids when they need it most. And just imagine the comfort you will give Red Shirt crewman number 24. He'll know that when he puts on the red shirt and drowns searching for the home of Poseidon and the lost city of Atlantis, 11 minutes into Star Trek and Stargate Atlantis crossover that shouldn't have happened, his family won't be left destitute and without hope, because the Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund has his back and his like-new scuba gear.
On behalf of the rest of the hosts of Funny Science Fiction, we'd like to thank you for listening to this episode. If you'd like to be a guest on one of our future episodes, please contact us by means of our Facebook group, Funny Science Fiction. You can find us on Twitter or Instagram using the handle @FunnySciFi, or you can go to DraytonAllen.com and click the Contact Me link at the bottom of the page. Thanks again. Hope you enjoyed the episode.